Hello again, everybody, and welcome to Thursday's edition of Big Blue Kickoff Live, presented by Cadillac, the official luxury vehicle of the New York Football Giants. So glad you could join us for the next hour to talk Giants football. I'm Paul Dottino, here's Matt Citak, and we are coming to you from the Giants podcast studio, presented by Hackensack Meridian Health. Keep getting better. If you're not watching the show or listening live, you can always get us on the archive at all of your favorite podcast platforms everywhere, the Giants mobile app, and at giants.com/podcasts. Our number is 201-939-4513, 201-939-4513. Now, yesterday we had a three-pronged question, and Matt's going to get a chance to answer those this morning. We talked about the Giants draft class, and the three questions were: who was your favorite member of the Giants draft class? Who do you think the best value was of the Giants draft class? And who was the sleeper pick of the Giants draft class? Now, John and I, we both agreed that Fredoni was our sleeper pick. But we did not necessarily agree on our favorite or our value picks. So it'll be very curious to see here what Matt decides to do. So go right ahead.
Well, real quick, before I jump into that, I just want to give very quick shout out to our entire production department. You, John, the whole digital department with me upstairs.
Well, we were busy.
It was an insane 72-hour stretch, and it was all hands on deck. Everyone was, busting their tails for just about like 15 hours a day, those 3 days. And so I just wanted to give I'm sure you guys, already said this earlier in the week, but since this is my first time on air since last Friday, just wanted to give a very quick shout out to everyone that put together all the videos, all the content that got up on the website and the app the last week. It was really teamwork from everyone, and it was a fantastic job. And just wanted to give everyone a very quick shout out on
and
that.
You know what? And also to yourself, because it really all starts with the combine. For us. Yeah. Now, John does go to the Senior Bowl. He does stop in on the Shrine. He's the one-man traveling party that does get sent away, which, of course, makes all of us very, very happy. No, just a little dig, that's all. But Matt and I get to join the party at the Combine. And so does Dan Salamone upstairs, our senior writer, and, of course, Pearson Butler, our crack producer. We all convene like a big circus at the Combine, and that's where it really gets going. So you're right. Kudos to everybody, and it has been a long 3+ months since the Combine.
That is for sure.
And I will say my one word is just relief.
Yes.
That describes everything for me.
After all the hard work that we put into it, I mean, it doesn't even touch the hard work that the guys upstairs, the football side, the hard work that they put in.
You're not kidding.
But for all of the hard work we did to then, have the result be the draft class that the Giants got, which in my opinion, which I admit might be a little bit biased, but I do think it was a home run of a draft class. It was great to see those results come out of all that hard work.
All right, let's hear it. What do you got?
So what were the three again? Favorite, sleeper, value?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to not count the 2 first-round picks because I feel like those are just too easy. I would say Abdul is my favorite, but that honestly was that was too much of a layup of a pick. So
can be. There's nothing wrong with that. He's going to be the favorite of a lot of people.
I know, but I'm going to go.
He was John's, by the way.
Rightfully so, but I'm going to go in a different direction.
Okay.
For my favorite pick, I'm going to have to go with Cam Skattebo.
That was mine.
Going into the draft, I wouldn't say that running back was necessarily the biggest need for the Giants. Obviously, Tyrone Tracy, a 5th-round pick last year, hit in a big way in his first season. He still only has, 2 full years playing running back under his belt. He's still relatively new to the position compared to everyone else playing running back in the NFL right now. And he looked great last year. But now the Giants added Cam Skattebo, who, in my opinion, was right up there with Ashton Genty as the most exciting running back prospects in this entire draft class, in the entire nation last year. In the draft class, I'll say, Jeremiah Love from Notre Dame, Nick Singleton from Penn State. If they were in the draft, they'd be in the conversation too. But in this draft class, Skattebo is right up there with Ashton Genty, second in missed tackles forced on the season. I think he's just going to provide the Giants with such an awesome 1-2 punch at the running back position. I don't want to use the term thunder and lightning. I feel like that's been sort of retired since the Tiki Barber Rondane days. But, I feel like this is the best 1-2 punch the Giants have had at the running back position since, I guess, the Brandon Jacobs, Ahmad Bradshaw days.
Right.
I'm very excited to see these two guys complement each other in the backfield, what they can each provide, because they're also both very, very good pass catchers. Both of them. So they're kind of interchangeable. Cam Skattebo is going to run over so many people. He's going to become a fan favorite, if he's not already, of Giants fans very, very quickly. I'm going to go with him as my favorite pick of the draft.
All right, so 2 for Skattebo and 1 for Carter for our 3 hosts who were on the. I didn't get Lance's. I should have asked Lance what his picks were. All right, who's next?
Next, I'm going to go with the value pick. And I feel like for this one, it is pretty easy. It's got to be Marcus Bowe in the 5th round.
That's what John said.
I mean, obviously, mock drafts, draft projections going into the draft, at the end of the day, they don't end up meaning a whole lot because only thing that matters is how NFL teams see all these guys. But most people had Marcus Bowe as probably a late day 2 pick, 3rd round. Like, I thought when the Giants got on the clock at 65, I thought there was a chance that they could take Marcus Bowe then. Then when they got on the clock again at 105, again, I thought there's a decent chance that Marcus Bowe is the pick here. The fact that he lasted all the way to 154, I think was just tremendous value. I mean, he told us after getting drafted on his conference call, he's been training at all 5 positions. He has experience playing right tackle and right guard, but he's been training at all 5. The coaching staff, front office, everyone's been boasting about versatility. And we've seen it with a lot of the different additions the Giants have made on both sides of the ball. Marcus Bowe fits that perfectly. He's going to come in and he's not going to start right away. Given, the return of Greg Van Roten, some of the other, veteran additions that the Giants made on the offensive line, similar to, Jackson Dart, Marcus Bowe is going to have time to learn, develop behind the veteran starters, gain experience from them, pick tips up from these older guys, and really grow. And we'll see what position he ends up at. I mean, my guess would be he would potentially, the plan is potentially for him to be that long-term answer at right guard, but who knows? He could, again, he's been training at all 5 positions. He could end up lining up anywhere. He's going to provide depth at all 5 positions. I think, for me, easily that is the value pick right there.
See, for me, easily it was Alexander, because I believe not only will he make much more of an immediate impact, I think long-term he will have a better career than Bowe. And
That's
for
fair.
a 3rd-round pick, John wasn't buying it. He went with Bowe. Because, of course, on John's board, he was a 3rd rounder. So that had to make him a great value. And I get that. I get that for him. And there's no right or wrong answer. It's an opinion. It's how do you feel?
Of course.
I was talking to a scout yesterday who said to me he thought Alexander might sneak into the bottom of the 1st round. Now, I thought he was a mid-2nd round value myself, maybe high 2nd round. Giants got him high 3rd round.
Yeah, no,
so John's argument to me was, well, he didn't drop like 2 full rounds like Bowe did. So that's why he went there. But you know what? Outside of David Deal, how many 5th-round offensive linemen have the Giants had that actually made an impact?
For the Giants, not too many, but
no.
I feel like every year across the NFL, we see 1 or 2 guys that were picked on day 3 develop into, that Pro Bowl level starter.
I'm going to say, I just think that even though Alexander was a 3rd-round pick, and you could say, well, 3rd-round pick, he's expected to do something. I get that. I think this guy is going to be a really, really big-time stud. I think he's going to be really good.
Yeah.
And there are going to be teams that are going to be sorry they passed on him at the bottom of the 1st round.
I cannot fault you at all for making him your, the value pick?
Yeah, because I think he's going to have a bigger impact and a longer career than Bowe. That's what I think.
Yeah, the only reason I went with Bowe is just because, I guess, similar to John, yeah. I just expected him to go way earlier. And while I don't think it was like I expected Alexander to go either mid to late 2nd round. I was a little surprised that he was there the 3rd round. I don't think he would have lasted. If the Giants didn't pick him, I don't think he would have lasted more than a handful of picks later.
Been gone.
So I do think there was some value there for sure. I just, again, similar to John, I just think because of where I expected Bowe to go, I see a little more value in getting Bowe in middle of the 5th round.
Totally understandable.
But that's a great segue into my sleeper pick, I'm going with Darius Alexander. I know he was a 3rd-round pick, and you guys both picked Thomas Fidone, who was a 7th-round pick. Obviously, that's more of the sleeper value right there in the 7th round than the 3rd round. But I agree with just about everything you just said about Darius Alexander. I think he was going into the draft one of the guys that we talked about as just that perfect complement to Dexter Lawrence on the inside. And I think he's going to not only contribute right away as a rookie in year 1, but
I think he will.
I agree with you that I think he's going to have a long, successful career in the NFL. I think we're going to look back at that pick a couple of years from now and think, how the heck did this guy drop all the way to 65?
Yeah.
He should have gone end of round 1, early day 2. So it may not be that much of a sleeper because, again, we're talking about the 65th overall pick here. But I think he's going to greatly outplay his draft slot. I think he's going to be the perfect complement to Dexter. And the two of them are going to play alongside each other for years to come. I mean, we all know that Dexter's had these very close relationships with some of the former defensive tackles that were here prior to Darius, with B.J. Hill, Dalvin Tomlinson, Leo. I think Darius Alexander is going to be the next up in that line. And the two of them are going to become close, and they're going to wreak havoc on the inside as Brian Burns, Abdul Carter, and Kayvon Thibodeau wreak havoc from the outside.
They're very happy with him upstairs. They're thrilled they got him.
Thrilled with him because again, versatility. He mostly lined up in the B gap, but he has experience lining up all across the defensive line.
He does.
He can kind of go anywhere. And same with Chauncey Golston. Abdul, we know, can line up in various different spots. Clearly, there were two main attributes that the front office was targeting this offseason between the draft and free agency, and it was versatility and toughness. And I don't see how you can look at the free agents that were brought in and the draft class that was brought in and not check those two attributes off in a very big way.
No doubt. No doubt. It's those characteristics will take you very, very far as you try to develop these young players. If they can satisfy both of those things, you've got a chance to make something out of them.
Hey, Paul, you know what you'll like about Darius Alexander?
Yeah, what's that?
We just had Ryan Wilson on the Huddle podcast, which is going up today.
Okay.
He said that he talked to a bunch of prospects. He knows the most about history, like NFL history, out of like anyone in the class. They said they quizzed him on like 40-year-old defensive linemen, and he knew all of them. Him and Dylan Gabriel, he said, were the most. Doesn't
surprise me because his maturity is very much heralded. He has a 6-year-old son who he has raised and done a fabulous job doing. We even met him when he brought him in here for the initial introductions. And he is just a guy who is all business and has his head screwed on straight and is mature beyond his years. So I'm not surprised that he would pay attention to history because there's a lot to learn.
100%. And just real quick, one other thing that, Darius displays, and I think you can kind of see it throughout the entire draft class, somewhat similar to the toughness attribute, but, upstairs, Dan Salomon and I have talked for years about, missing out on drafting Quentin Nelson back in 2018. Obviously, he's a great offensive lineman, but he just has that nastiness to him that you want to see from an offensive lineman. Well,
anybody in the trenches.
Yeah. Well, you look at this draft class that the Giants just brought in.
Oh, they have an edge.
You see that nastiness, that edge in almost every single guy.
Yeah.
Darius had that quote when he was here for his introductory press conference. The last question of the day, the quote was, "I love taking my opponent's will."
Yes.
That is what I want to hear from especially from my linemen.
Love it.
I want to hear that nastiness, that edge. And Cam Skattebo obviously has that edge to him as well. Jackson Dart has that edge to him. Abdul Carter has that edge to him. You see it throughout. Marcus Bowe literally said, "I love demoralizing my opponents." Like, they brought in a draft class of guys that have that edge to them, that like clearly have at least a little bit of a chip on their shoulder, and they plan on taking it out on their opponents each and every opportunity they get, and I love to see it.
All right, folks, we gave you those questions yesterday. We had a whole bunch of phone calls, and we had other people who still wanted to get in, and they didn't get a chance to because the show was only an hour. So now we have more time today. If you would like to answer the same 3 questions, we will be very glad to take your responses this afternoon at 201-939-4513. We go to Abdul in Minneapolis, and you're first up on the show today. Hello.
How you guys doing? So I'm going to answer the questions, then I'm going to also ask another question after that, if we have time. So my favorite draft pick is Alexander, for everything you guys just said, how violent he is. I think the impact, he'll have the quickest impact of the draft pick over everyone else. The biggest, the second one would be Marcus Bowe. I think.
You mean for the sleeper? Or for the value? The value. The sleeper?
Thank you.
Value.
Marcus, I think Bowe for the value when he was drafted and how.
See, I didn't think he was more than a third-day pick myself. I did not think he was going to be a day 2 pick. I thought he was a third-day pick all along. So for me, it was harder to reach in that regard. But go ahead.
So just how nasty he is. The versatility, because he can play multiple positions. So and the sleeper was an undrafted free agent, and it's Makari Page from Michigan.
Well, we can't go there because until those guys take a physical and sign, those guys are not going to be part of our conversation. So, So you are welcome to pick any one of those guys that you have read in the internet or the papers, but we cannot discuss them until they have signed contracts.
Fair enough. Okay, so then it would be the tight end from Nebraska. His straight line speed is underrated. I think he could block. I've seen some cut ups that he can block, which is kind of a rarity this day and age coming out of college. Tight ends blocking, and I think he has the height. He's kind of the complete package when it comes to a tight end. And the tight ends are kind of thin at the Giants position, so I think you'll have the opportunity to produce. So those are my three. So I guess Alexander, Bowe, and the guy from Nebraska.
Fedoni.
When it comes to Fedoni, I know you guys definitely mentioned this earlier in the week, but for those fans, I'm sure it was brought up yesterday too, but for those fans that don't know, Fedoni was the number 1 tight end recruit in his recruiting class, and that was a class that included Brock Bowers. Fedoni was number 1 ahead of him. He just had 2 pretty bad ACL injuries while at Nebraska, but he's fully recovered from that, had a pretty good year this past year. Very physical player. Yeah.
And the fact he came back from 2 bad knee injuries shows that he loves the game.
Yep. Oh, there's no doubt about that. If you've ever talked to him or heard him, he does love the game. And I'm sure he's going to love the Italian food here, too, because in Nebraska, you got to think he's probably eating a lot of steak.
I think Polydocs is showing exactly where to go to for all the food. So I think, having that kind of intangible is you can't coach that. You can't really grade that. It's just he just loves the game, and I think that puts people, sometimes over the top when it comes to production. So the thing I wanted to add, a few days ago, someone was talking about how the Giants keep players on scholarships for too long or something like that. And then I don't think he clearly stated he wasn't clearly stating what I think the issue is. So my only issue with this coming year is I'm still not convinced the coaching staff on both sides of the ball make the right decisions or quick enough. For example, Evan Neal should have been a guard last year. The fact they kept rolling out Uzudu at tackle when he was drafted as a high pick at guard, this was a head scratcher. Like, why did they keep rolling out Uzudu even after Uzudu got Daniel Jones hurt at tackle? Made no sense. On the other side of the ball, the fact that Banks is a better press cover cornerback, but they have been playing zone not 80% of the time, and he regressed. The way that Bowen used Okereke made him regress. So as I said, I'm being very open-minded. I feel very optimistic about this year. But in the back of my head, there's a bunch of head scratchers that this coaching staff has done, and the fact that they already announced that Bo is going to play tackle and didn't even mention guard. And we need him more at guard. I'm like, why even announce that? It's a couple of head scratches that this coaching staff.
Abdul, I could go through each one of your points and debunk them because there are multiple reasons why each one of those things occurred, and if you understood all of them, you wouldn't be complaining about them. But I don't have an hour and a half to go through all that stuff. I just don't. But there's a lot of reasons why those things had to play out the way they did. Ultimately, though, and I will say this, and you guys know I am a big Tay Banks guy. Heck, I was begging for him in the draft when they took him 2 years ago. So I am a huge Banks guy. But that does not alleviate his responsibility. Whether or not the scheme is best suited for him or not, he has to learn to adjust. He's a pro player. He's getting a signed check now. Now, again, it may not be his favorite scheme. They may not be his favorite calls that he's running out there. But it's incumbent upon him as a professional who's taken a paycheck to try to melt into whatever it is that the coaches are telling him to do. So while I tend to agree that it was not the best fit for him and the scheme was not very congruent, I understand that. And I think that, Shane Bowen has told us that after 1 year of working with these guys, he knows more about them and he will adjust appropriately. Well, guess what? Tate Banks needs to have some of that responsibility too. As a player, you also have to either get better at what you're not very good at or make the proper adjustments that make it easier for you to play that position. So don't just slam the coaches. I'm just going to give that to you as one example of why your list isn't necessarily being fair.
Right, and I said I'm keeping an open mind about it. It was 1 year with Bowen, and I'm being very optimistic about this year so far. So I hope you're right, Paul. All right, thank you guys for talking.
All
Take
right,
care.
have a great day.
Thank you, Abdul.
Yep.
Thank you so much. 201-939-4513. And, that's part of the issue that, people need to understand. There are many, 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 many factors as to why a young player comes into a program and then the results are not what you expected them to be. There can be a slew of reasons, among them injuries, perhaps position coach, perhaps scheme, perhaps player just did not pick up what he should have picked up. There could be a bunch of reasons. And that's why it's really hard for me to just sit back when somebody says, well, the coaches didn't do a good job with him. That's just too easy of a cop-out to say.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I was just going to touch on the Evan Neal point in that.
Sure.
Obviously, Evan Neal's 3 years into his NFL career now. You got to, after year one, I don't think you move him in after year one. You got to give him a little bit longer of a leash there.
Yeah.
So you give him 2 years, and then let's not forget, year two, he had injuries. He didn't play the full season, and then he was getting ready for his third year in the league, and he got injured again.
Surgery.
And he didn't,
ankle surgery.
He went into training camp not 100% healthy. And when you're coming back from an injury, you've already been dealing with injuries to start your career. Do you really think after training camp has already begun, that is the best time to now have him move inside to guard, a position he hadn't played in years?
Absolutely.
It just
made no sense.
It wouldn't have made sense to try to move him in the middle of the season after already going through the whole offseason training at right tackle. And prior to his injury, there was, the feeling of encouragement that he was going to, take over that right tackle position. I mean, when offseason workouts, OTA started last year, Jermaine Illuminor was on the inside.
Right.
And Neal was that right tackle, but he just, I don't know when he suffered the injury or re-injured himself from the injury from the previous season. But by the time he got back healthy, the season had already started. That's not the time you want to start cross-training a guy.
No, he was so
and move
far
him
behind.
inside that. Exactly.
That was the problem. He was so far behind. Illuminor had seized the spot, and you're not going to fuss with that at that point. It makes no sense. The timing was horrible to cross-train him. Now the timing is better.
Yeah, and I mean, Joe Shane has already spoken about how Evan Neal said he's open to playing any position that the Giants want him to play.
Right.
He just wants to get out there and help the team any way he can. There are reports that he's moving inside. We'll see, when the Giants actually get on the field and start practicing, whether it's OTAs or training camp in a couple of months, we'll see. But yeah, the Neal part was the one that I just wanted to touch on because I don't think it's fair to say, oh, they should have moved him inside years ago. Realistically, the seventh overall pick, you got to give the guy somewhat of a leash, and then he had injuries. The Giants would love nothing more than for Evan Neal to come in this year and have an amazing season at guard and be that long-term answer at right guard. Nothing would make the Giants happier than for Evan Neal to take over that position in the long run. Still, and it could happen. It could easily happen. We see guys move inside all the time and have success after failing on the outside. So.
Well, he's not going to be a slot receiver, I'll tell you that.
A little too big for that.
Doug in Glens Falls, you're next on Big Blue Kickoff Live. Hello.
Hi, Paulie. Actually, I want to first comment. I saw a replay of when John Smelt announced Skattebo being drafted.
Yes.
And you must have been that's the happiest I've seen you since the 2011 Super Bowl, when you were jumping up and down and shaking your arms.
There were a lot of reasons why I was pumped up. I was pumped up because I wanted the player personally, and that's the spot that I was hoping to get him in, and was told by a lot of people he'll never make it there. So that was certainly one reason. The other reason was, after going to sleep after the third round, remember, and Joe Shane talked about this too in the interview that John and I did on Giants.com, they were sweating bullets because everybody, shuts down after the third round. Now you go to sleep for the night, and you got to get up the next morning, and the fourth round's going to start, and you got pick number 3, which means 2 teams in front of you might be able to steal the guy that you've been dreaming about all night. And in fact, was it Jacksonville? Took a running back right before Skattebo.
Oh, they did?
Oh, yeah. Go to the fourth round. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The Virginia Tech running back.
Yeah. They took a running back right before the Giants did in the fourth round. And so,
wow.
It was really, really scary. And so that's why when the name popped up and John read it right off the screen, that's why it was a matter of, I was happy for the team. I was certainly happy for me to hit the bullseye. But also, I just think this guy is going to make a world of difference. He is such a perfect fit for that running back room. I'm just thrilled. So that was the reason for the reaction.
Okay. Well, I just saying I think that's the happiest I've seen you since 2011 Super Bowl.
I was pretty happy during the Minnesota playoff game a couple of years ago. Trust me.
Well, yeah, probably that too. Yeah. Well, when you want the value pick. The favorite pick, the value pick, and what was the third one?
Sleeper.
A sleeper?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The value pick, the favorite pick for me probably is the kid from I'm drawing blank. The kid from Purdue, the offensive lineman.
Bo. Marcus Bo. Marcus Bo. Yeah.
The value pick actually would be Skattebo.
Okay.
Or where they got him, and then the sleeper probably would be the tight end from Nebraska.
Yeah, Fredoni.
Yeah, Fredoni.
All logical. There's no right or wrong answer to any of this stuff. It's all about your opinion and your preference and what you think of the players. But how did you like the draft overall? Good one, right?
Oh yeah. And was it John or someone had on Charlie Weiss?
Yes, we had Charlie Weiss on. John and I talked to him on Big Blue Kickoff Live the other day.
About Jackson Dart?
Yes. And if you haven't listened to that interview, folks, go back to the archive on Giants.com. He gave us about a half hour. And he was actually Lane Kiffin and Charlie's son, Charlie Weiss Jr., who's the offensive coordinator / quarterbacks coach. They allowed Charlie, when he visited to Ole Miss, they allowed him in the room. He was actually in the room, in the quarterback's room. So he got to know Jackson Dart about as well as anybody could. So he gave us some really good details about the guy as a player and as a person.
Good, yeah.
Okay, anything else?
No, that'll do it. Thank you.
Appreciate it, Doug. Thank you so much for calling.
Thanks, Doug.
Jackson Dart, if you didn't get a chance to check out Charlie, go back and watch the Gruden quarterback class episode.
Yeah.
On ESPN.
I've seen clips. I haven't watched the whole thing because isn't it like over an hour?
Oh, it's an hour, but it's really good.
I'll have some time over there.
It's really, really good. 201-939-4513. Go ahead.
No, I mentioned before that the little quote from Marcus Bo.
Yes.
But the fitting into that toughness thing. I just pulled up the full quote, and I just want to read the whole quote because it's
Sure.
a lot better than what I said.
Okay.
So the question was, knocking people over, is that something you kind of cherish up front? Is that a mentality for you? And his response was, no doubt, putting people on the ground, winning reps, demoralizing people. It's always fun, and it's definitely part of the reason why I love this game. That's the type of quote I want to hear from my lineman. So I just love that quote so much, I had to read the whole thing off.
Or as Jesse Ventura once said, I believe in, what was that movie with Stallone when he goes, I ain't got time to bleed.
I forgot what movie that is.
That was with the alien. Come on, Pearson, help me out.
Pearson should know. He's the
Predator.
movie aficionado.
That was it. It was a Predator. I ain't got time to bleed. You got time to duck? Let's go back to the calls on Big Blue Kickoff Live. Cliff in New York, you're next on the show. Hello.
Hey guys, great stuff. For the value, I like both trenches guys, Alexander and Bo, and because I'm trying to begin to move past the excitement phase, which is, I don't have to be in any hurry to move past it. There's a lot to be excited about. They did exceed last year's draft, which everybody praised through the roof. So what else can you say about the whole thing? I was, as you know, Paul, I was, and Matt, I was really looking to get Marcus Graham. And he would have been a guy that I would have predicted could have reasonably been regarded as a starter in week one. But, you can't complain about what we got which is, on defense, which for that position, because of where the value is, because you don't have to pay him that much, do you? I mean, Joe Schoen is still managing a salary cap as he goes through this whole process. Mm-hmm. And so I like that stuff.
Well, Cliff, let me just say this before you go any further, and I'm going to let you finish in a second. These two guys right here at this table were the two biggest Marcus Graham fans of all. Mason Graham, Marcus Bowe. Mason Graham, Marcus Bowe. The M's are getting me confused. We were the two biggest Graham fans on the whole broadcast division, okay?
I know.
So understand that. But the argument against Graham was the class was so deep at defensive tackle, you're going to get really good prospects even later on. And what happened? They got Abdul Carter at the third pick of the draft, and they got Darius Alexander, who we all agree is going to be a really good player, in the third round. So I get the argument against Mason Graham. I get it. I don't have a problem with Carter because we both agreed also. The loser of the Carter-Hunter pick number 2 slot was going to be the guy the Giants had to take. Neither one of us would have taken Graham over Carter.
No, I mean, literally what Cleveland did in the top of the draft is the one situation I said I would be okay with the Giants, moving out of 3 and not coming out of the first round with Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter, and that was to move down to 5 to Jacksonville,
and then maybe
pick up that first round pick in next year's draft, and then come out with Mason Graham. It's exactly what Cleveland did.
Yeah.
So that was the only situation that I said it on the show. That was the only situation that I would have been okay with coming out of the top of the first round, not with Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter.
So, Cliff, the flip side of that coin actually turned out to be the case. The Giants wound up getting a heck of a defensive tackle later on. So it really did work out well for the team.
No question about it. But it also shows me that when it comes to winning, Joe Schoen is still in a process of building the entire roster for sustained success, and all that stuff is in there with these picks also. And I don't see, before I get back to the winning part, I don't see any sleepers, because I can't be surprised at anybody in these picks that has an impact. I was really surprised that we got what we got at 7 and in 2 7s, because my reaction, originally was that the whole day three surprised me, except for Skattebo, that they got so much. But for the longer term, for the sustained success and the team that can really compete in the division, I think we'll be much more competitive this year in the division. But I don't think we can say that we're there yet unless Alexander and Bo or people like him really step up and win starting jobs, which I think is too much to ask for early on. But the thing with the trenches guys also is that, you know, I haven't forgotten. I'm so glad you brought up the defense of Neal. I've been on that case for 3 years. You just can't discount the injuries because it in effect it makes him a second-year player, you know, and at most. The fact that somebody makes an announcement, when I heard Joe Shane announce the cross-training of Neal, that doesn't mean they gave up on him at right tackle at all. It's an overarching objective in the offensive line. They've said it 1,000 times. They like guys that can play more than one position.
Cliff, even more than that, it's about getting the best 5 on the field. And however you have to name them, whatever position you have to give them, if you can get your best 5 offensive linemen on the field, no matter how you get to that final analysis, that's what you got to try to do.
Yes, and I don't think the trenches can go any faster than they have. I've been really curious as to what the new OL coach, what's his from Vegas?
Carmen Brasillo. He did a good job last year.
That's what everybody said, and that was not unexpected. This aren't we going to find out today if Evan is getting the 5th year?
Oh no, well, he already is not getting it. Joe Shane announced it already.
Joe already announced it over the weekend. They're not.
All right. Well, that doesn't faze me really. I was hoping they'd give it to him, but it just means he's going to work for it.
Right.
And he's, you know, there's nothing wrong with that.
Not at all.
The thing you got to keep in mind about these 5th-year options is, at least right now, the NFL doesn't differentiate between the 5 different offensive line positions. So the 5th-year option it's some like crazy amount.
Well, it would have been It would have been $17 million for Neal.
Like yesterday, the Ravens announced they were declining Tyler Linderbaum's 5th-year option, and he's one of the best centers in the league. And it's just because that he would have been getting, you know, $4 or $5 million more than what the highest paid center in the league is currently getting.
Right, and there it is. Joe Shane is managing a budget, not just for this year. He's managing down the road 2 or 3 years. He told us that when he was hired. That's what he does. That's what he learned how to do. And he's got a heck of a team behind him now, obviously too, which he's been quick to point out. One other thing that I just learned.
Real quick, Cliff, I got other guys on the line.
Okay, all right, I'll leave it at this on the QB thing. Quick. I just found out a couple days ago that sometime in the next couple of weeks, Dable and whoever else is going to sit down with the scouts and decide which 2026 quarterbacks they're going to take a close look at. So, nothing's been handed to the 25th or 24th draft pick, whatever that was.
Well, you always have to do your research, Cliff. This never stops. It's 365 days a year.
Yeah, I mean, Joe Shane and Brian Dable spoke about the offseason that they, ended up giving Daniel Jones that long-term extension. They still scouted the top quarterbacks that upcoming year. Like, you got to do your homework at every position every year because you just never know what's going to happen.
Players are scouted 2-3 years out anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, this is not a surprise to anybody. Kevin from Arizona, you have seen the Giants rookie running back, I'm sure, up close and personal. Why did you tell us about him?
Hello. Well, I became a big-time fan of Cam Skattebo, especially this year. Of course, it started last year when he first came to ASU. By the way, I'm a first-time caller and a brand new Giants fan.
Okay,
in
cool.
Arizona. And the reason is Cam Skattebo.
Yeah.
Now, by the way, I coached 18 years in high school football, so I hope I have a little bit of credibility to know what I'm talking about. But everybody was talking about Cam's 40 speed, his long speed.
Yeah.
And I think that was so misleading because, first of all, you go to the combine, he has a 39.5 or 39.75 vertical jump. Now, what does that tell you? That tells you all you need to know, and that's why when you watch film and watch his feet, you'll see his jump cuts and lateral movement. It looks like you're watching old Barry Sanders films.
Well, I don't want to go that far now.
No. I'm saying, watch his feet.
But I get you,
when
Kevin.
You watch when people think he runs straight ahead and bowls people over. This is not true.
He's got the ability to make some people miss too. He does. You're right.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. He makes people miss with his feet. And then, of course, if you do get a good block on him, he's so dang low to the ground. How do you you can't wrap him up? And then but I'm saying I just wanted to say that all this about the 40 speed and he's slow. Yeah, people just need to watch the film maybe another 12 or 15 times to see how he's outrunning guys that are on Texas, like one of the fastest teams in the country. I mean, I just think that was crazy. I mean, you guys have something very special with Cannonball Cam, I'm telling you.
Cannonball Cam. Did I hear you correctly?
Yeah.
Cannonball Cam.
Yeah. Cannonball Cam.
And he's aware of this. This is a nickname you guys have given him out there.
Oh, no, that's the nickname I'm giving him.
You're giving it to him. All right, well, Kevin, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. When he gets here, a week from today, I'm going to ask him. And if he's cool with that, maybe we'll adopt that nickname for him on the show.
Well, there you go. That's the one that when I watch him run, that's the first thing I think of. As a cannonball.
Very cool. I like it.
Cannonball Cam.
Well, the other thing that I wanted to say before you go, you said you coached 18 years at high school. I mean, it still applies at every level of football. Play speed and 40 times speed are two different things.
Yep.
I agree.
And obviously you know that, and you could see with the eye test what a guy's play speed is by how he runs in relation to the other players on the field. That's a heck of a lot different than just looking at the stopwatch.
Yeah, like I said, I wanted to call because I wanted to put to bed this 40 speed notion that this is how you make a running back based on 40 speed. It's absolutely idiotic.
Well, you know what it is, Kevin? You know what it is? Yeah. A lot of teams today, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I want to just make sure we get this point in before you finish up. A lot of teams today, they want the guy who's going to be able to break the play and go 40, 50, 60 yards all the way for a touchdown. Everybody's enamored, not just with the 40 time, but they want the ability for that guy to break a couple of tackles and go and get to the end zone and not stop until he passes the goal line. Well, that's fine.
Right.
I get the appetite for that. And Camp Skattebo, you might catch him 40 yards downfield. He does get caught from behind. We've seen the tapes, but that's okay because if that's not every running back's room is the same. And this running back's room badly needed a power back in the worst way. I was crying for one. He's that guy. Now, if you have a power back in your room already and you need some quicker, faster, big play guys, maybe you don't want to draft a Skattebo because you need a speed guy. I get that. It's okay.
Right.
Yeah, he might get caught 40 yards down the field, but it's going to be after he ran over 3 guys to get 40 yards down the field.
Or put a stiff arm in your face mask. Yeah.
Exactly.
By the way, one last comment before I go, guys. I really enjoy your show. I'm so glad I found it on YouTube.
Thank you.
Anyway, as far as the steal in the draft, as far as all the guys that you guys chose, actually, I think Bo in the 5th round was absolutely a steal with his athleticism and size. I just wanted to add that in there. That's the steal for me in your draft.
Well, we appreciate the call, Kevin. Please do call us again during the season. Thank you.
All righty. Take care. Thanks.
201-939-4513. By the way, real quick, Pearson, I know you mentioned a huddle earlier in the program. What is up there now that folks can get after they finish with today's Big Blue Kickoff Live?
Ryan Wilson should be going up at least shortly.
From CBS Sports.
Yep. And we have the 2 draft seasons up, and yesterday we put up the draftee interviews that Sean O'Hara and Madeline did with so their first interviews as Giants, essentially.
Right, that was during the 3-day draft. So,
And tomorrow you'll get Chase Daniel on Jackson Dart.
plenty of stuff up there online.
I just posted the Ryan Wilson huddle video to the website just now.
Well,
So
there
it's
you
now
go.
up.
While you're doing the program.
I can multitask. It's also just clicking one button. It was already set up before the show. So,
All right, I believe we are going to Jonathan in Westchester. You're next on Big Blue Kickoff Live. Hello.
Hey, how are you guys?
Well,
good. How are you?
I'm good. So I know there's been a lot of talk about the additions to our defensive line and the pressure that they should be able to generate, which is exciting. But I'm actually equally excited about what our secondary and specifically our safeties can do in this defense.
Mm-hmm.
I was watching, you had mentioned Sean O'Hara. I was watching Sean O'Hara do a film breakdown of Tyler Nubin's rookie year, and he pulled up a video of a few disguised safety blitzes and showed just how awesome of a job Nubin does of coming downhill and dodging blocks and then tackling the running back in the backfield. And as I'm watching this, I'm thinking just how amazing it'll be to have Nubin doing the same thing, except, this upcoming year you'll have the offenses also dealing with Alexander and Dexter Lawrence and Golston and Carter and Tibbs and Burns. Nubin could very easily have a free run into the backfield without needing to dodge any blockers. So just really looking forward to that.
Not to mention Javon Holland being the safety next to him, which, no offense to Jason Pinnock, it's certainly an upgrade from who he was playing next to last year.
100%. I mean, I haven't seen Holland play in person yet, so, not sure exactly what to expect from him. I can say, I was watching Dane Belton at the end of last year, and he also seemed to play well. I mean, he improved. I was just looking at this, 15 combined tackles in the Ravens game. He had that great interception off of Flacco in the Colts game toward the end of the year. So I think he could also have a lot of opportunities in this defense. So,
yeah, Belton really
having that line.
Belton really flashed at times. He flashed Belton last year when he was given an opportunity, and he's going to be playing that third safety position again this year, so he'll get some opportunity. He's got to make the most of it. But yeah, what you were saying about Tyler Nubin, I think we can all agree he had a very solid rookie year, and that was with no interceptions, which was one of his biggest strengths at Minnesota, was the fact that he was such a ball hawk. We're coming out of Nubin's rookie year saying he had a pretty good rookie year, and that was without having any of those interceptions. Those are going to come, especially with the improved talent around him. I think this time next year we're going to be talking about how big of a step we saw from Nubin in year 2.
I would go as far as to say that Nubin's rookie season was probably more consistent and more solid across the board than even when Landon Collins was a rookie and Xavier McKinney was a rookie. That's how good he was.
Yeah, McKinney missed most of his rookie year. Yeah. He only played the last 5 games, and coming off a serious foot injury, it was kind of tough to get a good read on him after such a small sample size. So I agree with you.
And then, actually, Paul, one thing for you. So, I know we have a tough schedule this year, and you know the history as well as anybody. So
it's nasty.
And I was looking at highlights from 1986, and the Giants' home opener that year was against the San Diego Chargers, and that Chargers team was led by Hall of Famer Dan Fouts.
Indeed.
They ran the Eric Coryell offense. So I think Fouts had probably the worst game of his career. He threw 5 interceptions, 2 each by safeties Kenny Hill and Terry Kennard.
Belichick ate him alive.
Yep. Right. So Giants have a very tough schedule, at least on paper this year, but it doesn't mean they can't go out there and embarrass some very good teams.
100%.
You don't play the game on paper.
Exactly.
You play it on the field. And don't underestimate the power of some of these players who I think are going to have really good seasons. Thanks for the call.
Yeah, especially with this passage. Thank you, guys.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Jonathan.
201-939-4513. I think it's important to note that I was just talking to Coach Gobriel, the special teams coordinator, the other day, and I said, everybody's making a big deal about some of the pieces that have been added to the defense, and rightfully so. And he understood that.
Yeah.
And you know, let's face it, Russell Wilson is an upgrade on offense. Okay, we get that too. But I said very quietly, your room has gotten huge upgrades, especially during free agency.
Chris Board.
And right away, he said to me, the linebacker, I said, Chris Board from the Ravens. Big smile on his face. He goes, he was my number one target during the offseason.
It doesn't surprise me at all. He's a fantastic special teamer.
And I said, and that's not all. You went and added another 2 or 3, maybe even 4 guys.
Flanagan Fowles. Another really strong special teams
who are all
player.
really good on special teams. And basically what it comes down to is this. As the Giants try to climb back into respectability and competitiveness, it's clear what they decided. They were going to greatly enhance special teams and greatly enhance the defense. Because what's the easiest way to climb out of the quicksand? Win special teams every week, which is 1/3 of the game. Win defense at least half the time, which now raises the level of the boat. And now if you just play solid offense, game manager kind of offense, you're going to be in a ton more games because it's a lot easier to improve special teams and defense than it is offense.
100%. I mean, I know prior to the draft, I saw some fans on Twitter complaining that like the Giants are running back the same offense as last year, basically, with just a change at quarterback. But I think you got to just keep in mind that having a much improved defense and a much improved special teams unit, that is going to help the offense significantly.
It tilts the field, for God's sake.
100%. 100%. You know, all these sides, we always talk about complementary football. There's a reason for it. There's a reason why the best teams in the league play complementary football.
Yeah.
Each side of the ball helps the other. When the defense is able to get off the field very quickly, or if the special teams unit is able to give the offense great field position, obviously that puts the offense in much better positions to succeed. So I agree. Just because the focus of a lot of the offseason additions happen to be on defense or special teams or both, because, you know, those 2 linebackers you mentioned, they're obviously going to contribute a lot on special teams, but those are also, you know, your depth linebackers as well. They're gonna get some snaps at linebacker.
I just don't think enough of people outside the building are paying attention to how good the special teams could possibly be.
I think we're gonna come back after the season, look back at all the free agent additions, and Chris Board is gonna be one of the ones we talk about being like, I think we needed to discuss him a lot more than we did, because he's gonna have an impact this year.
That's why I'm bringing him up.
It'll be cool to see what Corey Black can do too.
Yes, the corner they drafted at the end of the 7th round.
Eager to play specials.
And did that in college for a couple of years and was really impactful at doing so.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just saying, folks, mark it down now. The Giants special teams are going to make a difference in some of these games.
For sure.
They will. We go to Alex in Philadelphia. You're next on the program. Hello, Alex.
How you doing, folks?
We're okay. How are you?
Good. I just wanted to talk about the draft that we had recently, because I remember calling in before the start of the 2nd round, and I just want to say that I think that everybody after the Dart pick was a steal, because I was sitting there thinking the whole time, I don't see how Darius Alexander falls to us in the 3rd round.
Right.
I just don't see it. I was sitting there thinking Alfred Collins, maybe. You know, same thing with Cam Skattebo in the 4th. I was like, there's no way. We're going to have a hard decision here between 3 players in the 3rd round. And we got all 3 that I would like to have on the team. They all show the same type of traits. And I feel like it's a common theme in this whole draft. It's toughness. As compared to like last year, I feel like the theme was more blue chip players. But this year it's toughness, and I like it. Yeah, I like it. I miss it. It's how Giants football is when I first started watching, and I, you know, having a big back like Skattebo in the backfield, and even Marcus Bowe. You know, I think that if he was a lot stronger, he would have never fell to the 4th round or the 5th round where we got him. Because I'm watching the tape on him, and he can move.
Oh, he's very athletic. No question. He's got really good feet.
I'm sorry?
He's got really good feet. He gets out
yes,
there.
he
He
does.
can get out there on the edge.
Yeah. One of the reasons
got-
why
he's got
people
moves.
think he
He's got moves,
dropped to
too.
the 5th round was just because there was somewhat of a question of what position is he going to play. And that clearly was not much of a concern at all to the people in this building.
No, either for me. I watch him. He moves great. He moves like a tackle, and he's got moves. He's got hand placement moves. He's got some tools, you know. And like Joe Shane said, you know, you try to drive people on things you can't, you know what I mean. You can't teach. You can't teach. You know what I mean. Athleticism. You know what I mean. You can teach getting stronger. You can hit the weight room for a year, you know. But man, he's going to be an exciting pick for us. I think he was a very underrated pick. Everyone likes the fancy ones. I love defense, Gary Alexander, but I think Marcus Bowe, we're going to be saying his name a lot in the next, 5 years.
Alex, one piece of caution for you. Joe Shane was on Sirius NFL XM radio, Sirius XM NFL radio yesterday, and he was basically saying they like him as a project, but he was kind of indicating he might be like a redshirt this year. You know, he's going to be in the mix. Yeah, he's going, right, because he can develop, right? He's going to be in the mix, but they believe they've collected a quantity of linemen who are capable. And he more or less is a project. And he even said, and this refers to something Matt had said a little bit earlier, he had even said, don't be surprised, he might have some center flexibility down the road. So long term, I think Bowe is a good conversation piece. I'm not sure you're going to see him even take a snap this year, though.
Yeah, I mean, if Bowe ends up playing, I would say significant amount of time.
That means a lot of other guys failed, is what it means.
Especially early in the season. I think that would probably mean that the offensive line is in some kind of rough shape.
Or serious injuries.
In terms of injuries.
Yes.
That's what I meant. In terms of injuries, I think a lot of guys are going to have to go down before we see Marcus Bowe get significant snaps. One thing I just want to mention, because I mentioned before the toughness attribute that we see throughout this entire draft class. I just want to say, I think that same attribute goes back to last year's class as well. It's not talked about nearly as much, but you look at especially the first 3 picks in last year, and it's not only because of the success they had as rookies, but Malik Neighbors, Tyler Nubin, and Drew Phillips, again, those are 3 examples of toughness right there. Malik battled through injuries basically the entire season and went on to have a record-setting rookie year for the Giants. Tyler Nubin, we just talked about how much of a hard-nosed, just all-around solid safety he was this past season. And Drew Phillips, I mean, I feel like we just never talk about him anymore, but he was potentially, the most impressive of the rookies. I mean, he was right up there with Malik and Tyrone Tracy. I think because those two are the offensive skill positions, they get a little more attention. But
he got dinged up,
and he missed a couple of games as well. But Drew Phillips, I mean, I feel like
really
he's the epitome of toughness. I mean, just real quick, our social team put out this video yesterday, this trend that's going around social media, who would win in a fight between 100 men and 1 gorilla. And we put this video out asking a bunch of the guys that are in the building right now. And the video ends with Drew Phillips basically saying the real question should be 100 gorillas versus me.
And he
dropped the mic and walked away. Which obviously that's an exaggeration, but that just shows the type of mindset that Drew Phillips has. And again, that toughness attribute, I know we talked about it a lot, and Coach Dable talked about it a lot about this year's class, but that same attribute goes back to last year's class as well.
Well, look at his run support.
Yeah.
He's not afraid to take anybody on.
Yeah.
Who do you think would win that fight, Paul?
Between Drew Phillips and 100 people?
No, 100 gorillas.
100 gorillas? I'm not betting against Drew. There's no way I'm betting against Drew. I got to look at him in the locker room every day. There's no way.
What about 100 men versus 1 gorilla? This is the big debate that's going around social media.
Depends on how hungry the gorilla is.
I got my money on the gorilla, just for the record.
All right. Well, I guess that wraps up today's show. Another fun program. Certainly enjoyed your phone calls again. We will be back one more time this week. That is tomorrow for Friday's show of Big Blue Kickoff Live, 201-939-4513. Write down the number.
If you want to, tomorrow, since it's me and you again, if you want to dive into that 100 men versus gorilla debate, really dive into it, we might have some time.
I don't know that there's a whole lot of thought processes that need to be explored in that regard.
I'd love to hear Pearson's take on the matter.
Yes, Pearson.
Many takes. if it's 100 Dexter Lawrences.
Oh yeah, that's
How about
different.
that?
That is different.
Yeah. Well, I will say this. I could give two horses' butts about the gorilla and the 100 people. I need the Knickerbockers to take care of business tonight in Detroit so that they can get the 3 days off and then prepare to whip the Celtics' butts. That's what we need here in New York, okay?
Ooh, I can't wait to be on the show next week with you guys as Knicks Celtics fans.
Well, let's see if the Knicks win the series.
Me
first.
as the third-party observer, my Brooklyn Nets, sadly nowhere near the playoffs. I just get to watch your teams have fun and be jealous.
I hope it's fun.
It'll be very cordial between us.
It
right,
has
Paul?
been exactly. We're good, but I tell you, this wrestling match with Detroit has gotten ugly.
Detroit's a feisty team, but I think you guys are going to close it out
Feisty.
tonight.
I got a few other words for them that we won't say over the air.
I think the Knicks are going to close it out tonight.
They darn well should. They better get it done. All right, go Brunson. Go Cat. Get it done tonight out there in Detroit. That'll do it for this edition of Big Blue Kickoff Live, presented by Cadillac, the official luxury vehicle of the New York Football Giants. For Matt Citak, I'm Paul Dottino. We will see you again tomorrow.